Hi, Nathan Davis here for Cryptid Studies Institute or cryptidsi.org. I posted a video recently on Sasquatch Ontario's research at the request of a friend of mine. I have to say I'm not surprised at the scathing comments that I got from some people, most of which had profiles, not all, but most of which had profiles that were empty, which is a little bit telling to me. But I digress. I got out of this community in 2009 for the most part. I didn't really have too much to do with anybody that I didn't know already in the community. The main reason was um, I was fed up. I had been president of a group called the United Bigfoot Research Group, and I was president for that group for 4 years. Before that, I was part of another group. Um, and basically, becoming president and dealing with mainly the politics of the Bigfoot community, it sealed the deal for me. And after the birth of my daughter, um, I found that very little sympathy was given because my daughter was born premature for my situation. Um, it, I was still inundated daily with the politics of the group, and it kind of showed me who my true friends were. And I resigned as president, and I left the group. And I started the Cryptid Studies Institute with two other friends of mine that left the group at the same time, Johnny Henderson and Gene McCulley. Um, Mainly because we were just fed up with the politics of everything. And I have to say it was quite a bit freeing not dealing with it. Uh, so I can't say that I'm surprised at the reaction. I find it to be childish. I also find it to be backwards thinking. If somebody disagrees with you and is giving an opinion based on what they've experienced in the field, open a dialogue with them. Don't sit there and attack them outright because that doesn't prove you right. I mean, it's uh, not going to get us any further. I never put the man down. I just said that it seemed a bit fishy and did not seem to match with anything that I've ever experienced in the field. Now, somebody did note that the eye video, the ones with the eyes, the pictures of the eyes, uh, which is not really denoted on the video very clearly, was somehow done telepathically by the Bigfoot. That's an interesting theory, if true. Um, that's some amazing stuff. But I'm still skeptical of it. I've do think that we do need to research, and I have stated that a number of times, into the psychic phenomena. A number of people have had experiences in this area, and I don't think that people should close the book on it. I think that there's something that needs to be looked at. The fear-based situations where people just start having this terror, I've experienced that in the field where you have to get out of the area. I've come back into the same area later on and don't have the same feeling. So there may be something to that, and I think it does need to be looked into. Um, and somebody else pointed out, I think it was Mikey Mike is his name, Chris Munch, I think his name is, and also there was a guy, MV Trucking, who mentioned him. And I checked out the video by Mr. Munch, and this is the comment that I left for MV Trucker based on what I watched on this video. Let me see here, let me get here. I did watch the video that Chris Munch put out. And while Mike did come off as sincere and Chris talked of his own experiences, the one thing that caught me as odd was that no evidence in the form of videos was presented showing the appearance of marbles in question. Um, it is solely relying on Chris's first-hand encounter. Now, if you haven't watched the video by Chris Munch, I'll post it in the comment section, but basically this is another claim that Mike is making, and Chris said that he experienced it, is that marbles appear out of nowhere, even within the cabin that the owner owns and Mike has stayed in. So it's solely relying on Chris's first-hand encounter and does not rule out sleight of hand or other forms of tampering. Chris himself, who walked into this with a leaning bias, may have been open to something happening. This means that if this is a hoax, not saying it is, his shock may have made him unaware of a ruse. This is also the case with the images that appear on the camera, as they were noticed after the fact and not while he was in the presence of the camera. Mike himself has a photographic background, as do I, and it is possible those images were placed on the camera by him, again, not saying that they were, but this has not been ruled out. For me, this does not squelch my skepticism in this case. I think someone with that is impartial towards this, or as close as possible, should investigate this further, if allowed. I think this would help to weed out the truth in this case. So that's my comment to him. And I watched that video. While Mike came off as sincere, it did not squelch, like I said in the comment, my skepticism towards this. These are extraordinary claims. I think there's going to be quite a bit of evidence needed in order to substantiate them. And, marbles appearing out of nowhere, well, Chris, in his video, he comes off as somebody that walked into this with a leaning bias towards this being true. He did not go into this impartially. By the way he talked, the way he presented everything, it seemed that he went there expecting something to happen. And when you walk into anything with that expectation, and especially if you're walking into a hoaxing situation, not saying this is, you are more susceptible to accepting whatever's presented to you. And when he tells the story of the marble appearing, he says he heard it hit the floor. He does not say he saw it appear out of nowhere and hit the floor. He said he heard it hit the floor. So if he didn't witness it, which was not clarified, if he actually saw it appear and fall, if he didn't see it, then there is a chance that some sort of ruse was pulled on him, making it appear like the marble had just appeared out of nowhere. It's some very interesting stuff. I've dealt with people that have had psychic experiences that I find credible, but it's all perception based. And for me, something like this, there needs to be more research done into it to weed out the truth. While somebody may come off as sincere, it does not mean that they're not hoaxing. And I think that another thing is that if you're going to sit there and disagree with me, that's fine. Open a dialogue. I'm not somebody that's hard to get along with. I'm not somebody that sits there and name calls. I'm just somebody out there giving an opinion based on what I've experienced. And I think that that's what we need to do more of in this field, is have an open dialogue with one another. Stop calling each other names. Stop sitting there and ridiculing one another. I mean, I'm giving scrutiny towards evidence. I'm not sitting there saying Mike's an idiot, Mike's a dumbass, Mike's this, Mike's that. I'm not putting that man down. I'm just looking at the evidence as it is and saying, this is what I feel about it. Why can't we look at the evidence, scrutinize it, and leave each other out of it? Why do we have to sit there and make it personal? It doesn't need to be. And for many people to come across like they know more than somebody else, really, this is a field of unknowns. More unknowns than knowns. So to sit there and say you know more than anybody else, BS. Sorry. I mean, this field is full of a majority of unknown factors. Even Mike himself in the video said he didn't know a lot of the stuff. He didn't understand a lot of these things. He didn't know why they occurred. You know, so many people say this. I don't know. You know, people ask me all the time, well, what's a Bigfoot? I have no idea. I don't know what they are. You know, that's what I want to know. I want to know what they are, and I want to know why they are. I want to know more about them, their personality, things like that. I don't care if they're ever discovered by science or anything else at this point. I just want to know more about them, you know, as a people or creature or whatever, you know. And so I'm open to pretty much any research. But I have to go by my own experiences when looking at it. And I do come into this with a certain level of healthy skepticism. I'm not going to buy into something just because somebody says, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. That does, I mean, for me, I'm just looking at it from what I've experienced. It didn't fit with anything I've experienced, and I've experienced quite a few different things, including, you know, seeing them, hearing them, having very, very close, sometimes uncomfortably close. So, yeah, I just don't, you know, I don't understand why we can't have an open dialogue. I don't know why people have to call each other names. I mean, I know it's a human disposition to attack somebody that you disagree with, but if they're really not attacking, if they're just giving scrutiny, maybe you should just open a dialogue with that person. And, you know, I just don't understand. I really don't. The whole time I've been in this community, in whatever capacity or level, that's one thing I could never understand. I've dealt with the EBs, Eric Beckjord, or whatever his last name is. I've dealt with the Matt Moneymakers. I've dealt with the Tom Biscardis. I've dealt with all these different people from the community, some of which are very venomous. And that's one thing I can never understand, is why, you know, they have to go into a personal attack because somebody disagrees with them or doesn't see things in the way they do. And you present evidence, I appreciate that. If you can present something that sways me to your view, that's great. For the most part, I look at it, and I'm still going to scrutinize it because these are extraordinary claims. The evidence being presented isn't as extraordinary as the claims. It's still something where, you know, you hear the guy, supposed Bigfoot, yelling Mike, and it sounds like Sloth from the Goonies to me. I mean, I'm just being honest. And, you know, the eye pictures, they came off as fishy, the term I used last time. This doesn't mean that this man is hoaxing. I never said he was. I never said that he was dishonest. All I said was that this, you know, evidence, to me, is still a little sketchy. I'm still skeptical of it. And, you know, if I ever get to meet the man, and he takes me out there, and I experience something, then I will side with him. But I think that, you know, even with the Chris Munch documentary, which was interesting, it did not squelch my skepticism based on the fact that he did not present video evidence of marbles appearing out of nowhere. He was not in the presence of the camera when these images appeared on it, so there is a chance of tampering. And you have to accept that fact. You can't sit there and say well, this is what it is. See, this person's honest, and, you know, he would never lie. Okay, I'm sure he is. But that doesn't mean that because he comes in there fully believing, or for the most part believing, that the wool can't be pulled over his eyes. And, you know, again, I'm just giving my opinion on these matters for what it's worth. I am not putting anybody down. I'm not calling anybody names. And I would hope that I would receive the same respect. Thanks for watching.